There has been endless debate in the watch community on whether the 5-digit Rolex models are better with their sleek profiles and vintage looks, or the new 6-digit references with their chunky case and ceramic bezels. Well, I shall be doing a few videos putting some of the 5-digit references up against their current 6-digit counterparts to see which ones come up on top. And if you're looking to buy your first Rolex or just looking to add another Rolex to your collection and can't decide between the 5 or the 6-digit references, maybe these videos will help guide you make that decision. So in this first video of the series, we shall be looking at one of the most in-demand Rolex watches, the GMT Master 2. A quick shout out to Sean and Shan who lent me their watches to help out with this video. Check out their Instagram. Originally designed in collaboration with Pan Am Airways in 1954, the Rolex GMT Master was initially created for Pan Am and issued by them to their crews on long-haul flights. The main feature of the watch was that it let the person simultaneously reference two different time zones. It was also made in combination of two colors, blue and red, in order to help the wearer distinguish between night and day, which is today one of the most iconic bezel designs in the world, known as Pepsi. This famous bezel has been with the GMT Master for decades, disappearing only with the introduction of the GMT Master 2, reference 16760 in 1982. That made the GMT system even easier to use because the main hour hand could be adjusted in jumping 1-hour increments. The reference 16710 was only the second iteration of the Rolex GMT Master 2 and was in production for almost 20 years, starting in 1989 and being discontinued in 2007. And we would only get another stainless steel Pepsi with the introduction of the current reference, the 126710 BLRO in 2018. In order to do a comparison of both these watches and the watches in the future videos in this series, I will be looking at the case, the bracelet. These will show how comfortable the watches are and how well they fit on the wrist. And then I will look at the bezel and dial, the movement, and of course the price. So let's jump right in. The case diameter of both these watches is 40mm. Lug to lug of the older reference is 47.2mm and the new reference is 48mm. The 16710 is 11.8mm thick and the 126710 is 12mm thick. The lug width of both these watches is 20mm. So the cases of these watches seem quite close on paper. But the 126710 has the wider lugs and bigger overall presence on the wrist because of the maxi case, while the 16710 has a much more compact design thanks to its vintage aesthetics and the absence of the maxi case. Both the watches have brushed finished lug tops and the sides of the cases are polished. Both have screw-down crowns, although the newer model has a much more prominent trip-lock crown and thicker crown guards as well, compared to the older reference that has a much smaller twin-lock crown and smaller crown guards. The crown on the older version being smaller means that it's tougher to screw down and out, although setting the time is no problem and the crown is easy to grip once out of the screw down position. But the BLRO, because of the bigger crown, is easy to grip and change time on the go. Both these watches offer water resistance up to 100 meters. Even though both these watches are the same case diameter, the way these sit on the wrist vastly vary. The 16710 feels like it sits slightly more closer to the wrist than the 126710. But the real difference comes when you see how the maxi case of the new version really takes up a lot of real estate on the wrist compared to the older reference. It sits comfortably on my wrist, but I feel if you have a wrist that is smaller than 6.5 inch, then you would be better off with the 5-digit variant. For the new reference, Rolex moved away from the Oyster bracelet to the 5-piece link Jubilee bracelet, which definitely makes this reference look more dressy than the 16710. However, its steel construction ensures that it is still rugged and feels tool watch enough. Unlike the Datejust, the Jubilee bracelet for the GMT Master 2 does not have the Oyster clasp folding clasp, but instead uses the Oyster lock folding clasp, which is usually used for sport references with an additional safety bar. It offers the EasyLink extension piece that can lengthen the bracelet by 5mm. On the other hand, the 5-digit reference has the trusty Oyster bracelet with solid end links that tapers down to around 15mm at the clasp. it has the oyster lock clasp with 5 micro adjustment holes on the clasp. This particular watch's lugs has pinholes, so it would be very easy to change into any strap. Even though this bracelet is not as comfortable as the modern oyster bracelets, I do like it aesthetically. It has a very rugged look. The matte finish adds to the tough look of the watch. I had definitely preferred the oyster bracelet until I tried the Jubilee on the new Pepsi, and I instantly fell in love with how comfortable the bracelet was. Because it's Jubilee, it's very flexible, and in my personal opinion, after trying the Jubilee with the Pepsi, at least comfort-wise, I do prefer it over the oyster. There are some that say that the Jubilee bracelet does not belong on a sport model reference, and I was in that camp too until I tried the Jubilee on the Pepsi. The Pepsi bezel on the reference 126710 has been forged out of ceramic, or as Rolex calls it, Cerachrome. This material is extremely tough and is incredibly resistant to scratching and fading. Since the Cerachrome ceramic Pepsi bezels will not fade or change colors, these watches would not pick up the same unique character as the aluminium Pepsi bezel inserts on the reference 16710. The faded colors often seen on older GMT Master models will not occur with the new UV resistant bezel. For some, that could be a very important factor, as some people like their bezels to have almost no scratches or not to change color, while some enjoy the unique changes in color that an aluminium bezel would offer, even if it picks up some scratches along the way. The bezel itself on the new reference is much wider than the older reference, probably because of the maxi case. A wider bezel means the 24-hour marking on the bezel of the new Pepsi is bigger and bolder than the 16710. The new one is a 60-click bezel, while the aluminium one is a 120-click bezel. Both are very easy and smooth to turn. We are talking about Rolex here. When it comes to the dial, also there are major differences, mostly in the size of everything. The new reference has bolder indices, the Rolex name, and the hands. The only thing that is actually bolder on the older version is the 5-pointed crown. It's much thinner on the 126710. The new Pepsi also has the crown in between the Swiss made under the 6 o'clock. It also has the engraved chapter ring and highly legible chroma light with long-lasting blue luminescence, while this particular 16710 has superluminova. Both watches have cathedral hand set with a red GMT hand and the Cyclop lens date window at 3. When it comes to the dial, both the watches are very similar, other than just the size of all the components. With regards to the bezel, it really depends on whether you prefer scratch and fade resistance or a bezel with its own unique character. Rolex and its solid case backs. The movement in the 126710 BLRO has been upgraded to a caliber 3285. The big benefit of this movement is the improved power reserve of 70 hours, as the 3185 caliber, which resides in the 16710, has a power reserve of 50 hours. In terms of accuracy, however, both movements are controlled to the same standard, plus minus 2 seconds per day. So unless you are leaving your watch in your watch box over the weekend, you will probably not notice any difference between the two movements in actual use. The caliber 3285 uses the combination of the chronology escapement and the parachrome balance spring, which was first rolled out in the day date in 2015. Chronology escapement allows for better efficiency in addition to better resistance to magnetism, because it uses the parachrome balance spring, which the 3185 lacks. Movement-wise, the new reference wins hands down, but that is not to say that the 3185 in the older reference is not good enough. I mean, it offers plus minus 2 seconds a day. Most modern watches from other brands can't even offer that. The 1267 BLRO retails at $9,250 US. But as we all know that it's almost impossible to get it at retail. If you were to ask for it in the store, you would probably be put on an imaginary wish list. If you're willing to pay the premium, the market price is around $20,000 US. The 16710 Pepsi, on the other hand, being discontinued, the only way to buy it is from a reseller, and the market price is around $14,000 to $15,000 US. Now, however I choose to conclude this, there are people that will always love the 16710 over the 126710 and vice versa for their own reasons. If you're okay with the maxi case and want something that you could wear every day without worrying too much about any impact on the watch, then the new reference is definitely for you. But if you love the proportions of 5-digit Rolex models and the character it builds over its lifespan, then the older version is for you. For me, except for the maxi case, I love everything about the new Pepsi. But then I also love the charm of the older Pepsi. Thankfully, I don't have to make that decision right now. But if you are about to, I really hope that this video helped you decide which Rolex GMT Master 2 Pepsi you want to go with. Let me know in the comments down below which of these two references do you prefer. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and also please do subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at wherein on the move. Until next time, cheers.